The second strand of what we're doing this year, St. George of the Greeks, the black and white photo that I showed you, is this church here. What we're going to do is we're creating a computer visualization model, an immersive space basically, where we basically are recreating the entire church with the paintings, with the correct music from the period, with everything. And the reason why we're doing that again is not only because that's what people are doing these days in terms of cultural heritage, but because we also believe as an educational tool we can put this into classrooms all over the world, but not least in Famagusta and in Cyprus. We also believe, it's a bit idealistic of course, but you've got to say stuff like this, point number 5, that this is basically French and Italian heritage that we're protecting. If Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots can be led to believe that they both share the interest in protecting the same thing that is neither Greek nor Turkish, it might do something to bring the groups together. But of course, that is a terribly idealistic view. So that's the church, the St. George of the Greeks Cathedral actually. We went back and got architectural models and drawings taken in the 19th century by the French and the British when they first arrived. And then from that we start to create the three-dimensional spaces. This will be one of these places that you'll eventually be able to fly around in your computer program, and you can fly right up to paintings, and as you look at the painting, a magnifying glass will zoom in and you can see every detail of it, and a little signboard will come up saying this painting is the crucifixion, it's in the style of Giotto, who was Giotto, and it takes you to other examples. It's just the way things are going these days. We're also leaning heavily on every little detail, so this is not a game. That's the point. There's nobody running around with a sword trying to kill Turks or something like that. It is an educational tool. So every little scratch on the wall, over here, there's a lot of ship graffiti, for example. And here's one of the, you can see it quite clearly. We want to get all of this built into the program so that kids can look at the ships and ask themselves who would have scratched that. And for example, if we look here, there's the flag. You can see a crescent and a star. So it's clearly an Ottoman vessel. Why would an Ottoman sailor, who was presumably a Muslim, scratch an image of his ship inside an old Greek Orthodox cathedral? And so on and so forth. Here's another one on the same wall. You can see a flat-bottomed vessel with oars, and you can see a mast and a sort of lateen rig crossing. And then if we look at the siege of Famagusta from maps from 1571, you can see the same thing, the oared vessels, the map, the lateen rig. And you ask yourself, did the person who scratched this, was he saying to God, for example, please protect us from these things. These are our enemies, and they're 50 meters away from the church, and they're besieging the city. Can you look out? As you can see here, it's just traces of paint. These graffitis were scratched on top of paintings of the saints. So particular saints looked after particular vessels and looked after particular people. We're also going back to works of art to make our reconstruction as academically solid as we can get. Here's an image by a Dutch artist called Cornelis de Bruyn, and you can see here's St. George of the Greeks with its dome. And then here's the photograph when the British arrived, exactly the same angle. St. George of the Greeks no longer has a dome. So it fell down in an earthquake in 1735. So what we're trying to do is reconstruct it as a working model, using the best scholarship we can put our hands on to show what it would have been like.